Look at this. Have a cup of liberty. It's a coaster. It's a Helldivers coaster I've made in my 3D printer. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome to the video because we've got some absolutely insane news to talk about when it comes to Helldivers 2 because they've got a bold new plan which hopefully is going to fix the game or at least revert the game back to what we experienced around launch. We've got the details of some of the buffs that are coming to weapons like Flamers, the Breaker, Railgun as well. There's loads of info. But also, there's a new Chemical Agents Warbond, which I guess we should take a look at the trailer now because this has got some pretty crazy looking weapons. Check this out. Okay, so new armor sets. We've got capes. Yeah, which is fine. I'm never going to take off my level on Crete one, though. New armor looks all right as well. Actually, that looks pretty good. That sort of biohazard suit. New stratagems. Okay, so there's a chemical flamethrower. This is the TX41 sterilizer. Has a very nice visual effect as well. And also there's the guard dog breath, which is like, well, a chemical flamethrower guard dog. You've got new patterns which I think are mustard, paying homage to mustard gas. And that's a statement I thought I'd never say in a video. But check this out. Look at that. The stim pistol. That looks insane. Literally, you can just stim people if they're low health. That is amazing. We've got a gas grenade as well, because why not? And yeah, we've got some nice emotes and stuff. And we've got a massive gas explosion going off in the background there. So all in all, I think that looks pretty cool. So yeah, what do you guys think about that? I think this looks good. I mean, again, it'll depend on how strong these weapons are. We know what Arrowhead are like when it comes to Helldivers 2, especially with the weapon updates, with all the war bonds. The weapons launch and they're basically crap. There might be one which is usable. The rest of them are trash. There's loads of weapons in the game that they really need to look at buffing and sorting out and just making them usable. Maybe it's not so much about buffing them, but it's just making them actually usable so players want to use them. So I don't know. I think this looks pretty good. And yeah, it'll be cool. And this actually, when does it launch? It launches on September the 19th, so it's not that far away actually. And yeah, this basically comes out after September the 17th, which is of course the date when the big patch is going to go live, which is going to be a load of balance changes, which I guess we should break down now. So let's talk about these buffs coming to the game, because the first one, I'm going to throw the video up here, but I am just going to talk all over it. So basically what this is the developers are dropping every day an update up until the 17th of September, when the big update is going to go live. But what I mean by an update is like a patch notes update. Is they're teasing us with changes that are coming to the game. And the first one is the flamethrower. And basically what they're saying is, look, we're going to revert this back to how it was, but crucially, we're going to put the visual effects back to how they used to be, which, remember, they did say this was impossible and they couldn't do it, but they have found a way, as they do say in this video. But yeah, basically what they're doing is the flamethrower is going back to how it used to be, but it's also going to do more damage. So it's going to be 33% more effective. So it's going to do 33% more damage. But also, flamer mechanics will be reverted to the state before Escalation of Freedom update, and flame-based weapons can now damage heavier enemies like Chargers, Bile Titans, Impalers, and Hulk. So if you are insane and you do want to fight the bots with a flamethrower, you can like have a flamethrower battle with a Hulk, which is possibly ridiculously metal, and I'm all for that. I mean, what the hell? So next up is the Railgun, and again, it's this idea of putting them back to states they used to be, but then supercharging that state of the weapon. So what we've got is the Railgun's damage is going to get a massive boost. So durable damage will be increased from 60 to 225, and fully charging or overcharging damage will be increased from 150% to 250%. This is a massive buff for the Railgun, and it's going to make it insane. But also, the Flamer is going to be insane because that's got 33% extra damage, and now you can just attack heavy enemies with it again. It's just going to be insane. So this is like, it's interesting in a way because it's them saying like, hey, we're just basically reverting changes that nobody really liked and almost packaging them as like, hey, it's a new update, guys, but really we're just kind of rolling stuff back. But then, to get away from that argument, they're going, actually, we are buffing them again as well. And I don't think we've seen anything, or they haven't spoken about nerfs. Yeah, I mean, there may be nerfs in this patch, but basically it's like buff after buff after buff, but there is more. So next up is the Breaker. Now, the Breaker is getting buffed as well. So it comes with an extended magazine, which holds 16 shells, and stagger force is increased from 10 to 15. So it is just straight up it's just a buff, right? It's made, the Breaker's got more ammo in the magazine. You can fire more shots. It's got more stagger force. It's just a buff. So when we look at these tweets, I mean, I'll throw a tweet up here. You'll notice there is the hashtag BuffDivers. And it's very clear what the devs are doing here is just going, we are straight up buffing the divers. They've made the decision to go, we're going to buff the weapons and make them super overpowered and super fun. Now, there is a little game out there at the moment that I'm sure you guys have probably played. It is literally insane. Like, I'm a massive 40k fan, but the game is frigging phenomenal, right? It's not a long single-player campaign, but what it does fantastically well. It sells you on 40k, it puts you in the world, but crucially, you've got massively overpowered weapons. You've got massive power. You are insanely powerful in every way. Okay, some of the variants, the bolters might not be great, but, you know, running in with a thunder hammer and smashing up hordes of Tyranids, it's insane, right? Using, like, the flamethrower in that game, it's insane. It's actually, all of it's insane, right? Helldivers suffered from trying to be a bit too realistic with the weapons, which was their initial vision for the game. And then now they're realizing, oh, well, they realized this a while ago, actually, players, they like to play our game because they want to fight hordes of enemies with massively overpowered weapons and crazy powerful stratagems. They can just drop over everyone and destroy everything. That's what they want. So when we come in and start balancing the game like it's a PvP game, making idiotic changes to weapons, that takes away the fun element in a PvE game, which makes no sense. Players get pissed off and they don't want to know about this, and they get angry. They post on Reddit, they make YouTube videos, they tweet, they make TikToks, reels, I don't know, whatever. They just make noise that they're not happy. The devs seem to have finally got this message though, and seemingly are going to make everything stronger. But the elephant in the room is, will people care enough? I'm going to throw this up here. Now, this is SteamDB, and you can see the player base numbers for Helldivers too. Now, I am going to say this doesn't literally matter. You've got to remember, these devs have made a massive killing with the sales, the initial sales of Helldivers 2, right? They've made like $500+ million in sales. Yeah, I know this cuts to PlayStation, there's publishing agreements, all of that stuff, but this is a studio that is now very cash rich, right? It's been propelled into like the big time. So for them, they've made it, right? They can take their time, they can do whatever they need to do. But it's a testament to them that they are trying to turn things around. But also, we've got to remember, they are the ones that messed up the game in the first place. You know, everyone was loving it for a certain reason that the devs clearly didn't understand and were making changes to push the game in a different direction and have suffered from it. But of course, there was the PSN drama as well and all of that shenanigans that happened as a result of that. But the player base numbers are low. But a lot of people have bought this game. But will they come back with just an update which is like, hey, we've buffed the weapons? Like, I will play the game more, yeah? So in a way, it's working on somebody like me. But I don't think, and this again, it might be a bit of a hot take, but I don't think it is. It's lukewarm, to be honest. But like, most of the people who stopped playing Helldivers 2 was not because the weapons got weaker. It was because they got bored of doing the same missions over and over again. They got bored of the same objectives. They got bored of the same biomes. Now, to give credit to the devs, they have added new stuff. So, you know, we do have new biomes, slightly different missions, but essentially it's all the same thing. We're not seeing any new systems in the game. We're not seeing any new like reasons to actually play. When we look at the Escalation of Freedom update, they introduced the massive mega bases for the bots and the big hives for the bugs. These are okay, but they had a thing you could get in the middle, like a super sample, super duper sample. And initially we thought, oh, this might be some sort of insane thing, like it's an ornament you can collect. Maybe it's something you could like stick to your armor or whatever. Actually, it just turned out to be a bunch of samples. It was like, oh, this is not really worth all the hassle to collect, so we don't care. Things like that, which I hope they avoid going forward in the future and actually add more fun things into the game to do instead of just the same old thing. So, yeah, while I am being a little bit doomer here saying the weapon buffs, I don't think it's going to cause a player base to just suddenly explode and go back to the levels it used to be at. I think only one thing can possibly do that, and I think it's quite obvious what that is. That would, of course, be the Illuminate, which is the faction which is coming to the game. We still don't have a timeline for this faction, but this is going to be the moment where they're going to be able to get eyes back on the game again. So what I would do if I was Arrowhead, I'd be looking at fixing the weapons. I'd be looking at fixing just like getting the community back on your side, which they are starting to get, right? Things like the stim gun is actually kind of cool, right? People have been asking for that for a while. Community is going to like that. Obviously, rebuffing all of the weapons back to stupidly strong states and then buffing them again is going to make the community go, yeah, this is what we want. This is the fantasy we want. Like I said, if you've been playing Space Marine 2, you want to just go in there and massacre hordes of enemies with stupidly overpowered weapons. That's what Helldivers was, and the devs didn't realize it, but now they do, and I think they have for a while, to be fair. But this leads us all into this 60-day plan they've got, and I think we should talk about this because I think this has got some insights into what they're trying to do. And it's almost like, get the game ready over the next 60 days, then boom, we're going to drop the Illuminate with a big fancy trailer, and that's our attempt to try and recapture our players, get them back into the game, and potentially capture a new audience. So let's check this out. So this is the 60-day timeline. Now, it's a progress update, and we're going to go through this and just break down what they're talking about. So they basically say it's been a couple of weeks since we committed to our 60-day plan, and our team has been hard at work refining the gameplay experience, addressing your concerns by doing in-depth reviews and adjustment of various systems, from weapon balancing and enemy behavior to overall game mechanics. We are fully committed to ensuring Helldivers 2 meets the high standards we all expect. We see the Steam reviews and we hear you loud and clear. We're expecting to share more details about this upcoming update, which will include significant changes aimed at refining and improving your experience in Helldivers 2. This includes, we are reworking armor penetration, anti-tank weapons, and enemy armor health values. As a key part of the rework, we have done an initial balancing pass on over 30 weapons and stratagems. We are overhauling a number of different enemies to make them feel more rewarding to kill when you use the proper tools to handle them, but ensure they still feel formidable. Enemy bots, including Hulks, will have lower armor, and the number of rockets fired by enemies like the Devastator and Gunship will be limited. Making combat more balanced, the armor values of particularly tough bug enemies like the Charger, Impaler, and Bile Titan will also be reduced. Weapons such as the autocannon, heavy machine gun, anti-material rifle will be more effective, providing greater loadout versatility. We are also working towards additional improvements for the flamethrower weapons. We're taking this opportunity to consider new player fantasies and design goals for these weapons and stratagems based on the feedback we received and the trends we're observing during gameplay. Our next update will containing these changes and more details is scheduled to go live on September the 17th. We value your feedback and are always looking for ways to improve our community engagement. Stay tuned for more updates in the coming weeks as we work to make Helldivers the best it can be. We'll be back on the 17th of September with more detail. Then there's also a bit of an FAQ which gives a bit of additional information, and they say this: but what does the balancing pass entail? How are you conducting it? Our design team, led by our Chief Creative Officer Johan, analyzes player feedback, internal and external playtests, gameplay data, and the original design goals for each weapon and stratagem. This process allows us to identify discrepancies, such as weapons that are underperforming or overperforming, and make precise adjustments. The goal is to ensure that each weapon and stratagem feels powerful, responsive, and fun to use, while also fitting into the broader gameplay ecosystem. Now, this next bit is really kind of interesting because it seems they've had a test server running for a while. So look at this. What about the beta testing you mentioned previously? We have conducted closed beta tests for the last 2 weekends. We're starting small to ensure everything runs smoothly before expanding. They have been a testbed for the program, and we intend to expand it in the future and invite a wider variety of testers and play testers to upcoming updates. It will take some time to test to get the infrastructure in order, but the intent is that these tests will find issues and missteps before we release them to the player base at large, providing a better experience for all players. So, I mean, I'm not in these tests, so don't think I'm some guy sitting here going, oh, I'm in the test, I know everything that's coming. I'm not in these tests. I've never actually ever spoken to anyone at Arrowhead anyway. I don't think they want to speak to me, to be fair. But, well, actually, no, I spoke to the community manager who got fired, if you remember that guy from the PSN drama. That's literally the only person I've spoke to at Arrowhead. But, yeah, like, this is a good thing because testing stuff, or at least giving players who play the game a lot the chance to look at something, will reduce the sort of problems that Helldivers was suffering from, where every time they updated the game, it was a wave of negativity of like, why have you done this, guys? What the hell is this? Obviously, the most recent and best example is the flamethrowers. Why have you changed the visual effect? Why the hell have you changed the damage? What have you done to these weapons? This was also during your flame warbond. Like, what the hell is the plan here, guys? This is actually insane. It made no sense. Anyone with sort of, I don't want to say with half a brain because that's sort of shitting on the devs, but anyone with like any sort of brain would have looked at that straight away and gone, guys, what we're doing, this is not it. We need to sort this out. But they've very publicly failed at that, and now they're starting to claw it back. So I do think, guys, when I look back at all of this, this could be a good future for Helldivers 2. They had a massive meteoric launch. They had a good few months of like hype around the game was insane. Everyone was getting hyped for things like the Galactic War and whatever. But now we've sort of had a couple of months of, well, it's almost like capitulation in a lot of ways. They've made terrible update after terrible update. They haven't delivered on what they were saying they were going to deliver on. But now, though, it's like, look, we're trying to fix it, and we're building, I think, to the launch of the Illuminate, which will be the next big, massive milestone for the game, and I hope that goes well, and we'll see what happens as a result of that. But yeah, let me know what you think about this in the comments below, guys. Let me know if you're still playing Helldivers 2, what you think about the game in its current state. Obviously, it's still a really super fun game. I just think it's got a little bit stale. Of course, it is trying to be a live service game, so they do need to add new ways of playing the game and new sort of objectives and things like that, new progression systems, give us a different way of using our currency, for example, and things like that. I'm sure this is all coming down the line, but the first step is fix the weapons, and it looks like they're doing that, and they're going to give us these BuffDivers, which are just super jacked up because we've got mental, overpowered weapons, which is what the game should always have been. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. I've been Stylosa. If you enjoyed that, then let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Do subscribe to the channel for more content. You can follow me on everything, which is at Stylosa as well, and I'll catch you lovely lot on the next one. See you soon.